All right, welcome everybody. Hi. If you feel like saying hello in the chat, it's over on the right. Feel free to share who you are, where you're from. I'm going to do that now. Um, I'm in Kennesaw, Georgia. Really appreciate you joining us for this is the third edition of the Office Hours webinars here from For Good Cause. If you're not familiar with For Good Cause, we are the fundraising CRM that makes recurring monthly giving very, very simple for small nonprofits. Normally, I'm here with our developer, Steve Wanderski. If you want to put anything in the chat about missing Steve, I will let him know. But today we have a wonderful guest with us, Grace Green of Double the Donation. Grace, say hello to the crowd there.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Grace, you're in Atlanta. You're close by, right?
Yep, I'm not too far.
Perfect. So Grace is here to kind of talk to us a little bit about corporate matching donations. These office hours webinars are really an opportunity for Good Cause to share what's new in the platform, what we've been working on. We always kind of have one big thing for these that we talk about, and that could either be something new that's big, or it could be a feature that maybe we've had for a while that we want you to take more advantage of. And that's really the focus today, is when we're going to talk about the corporate matching donations. Hello to everybody. Paul, Doug, Karen, Carol, I appreciate you being here. Looks like a lot of clients in here for Good Cause, so really appreciate you. You're tuning in, you're getting my newsletters. I appreciate that. This is being recorded. I will send this out probably by tomorrow or Monday at the latest. So you will get a recording. Stick around to the end if you can. We'll have a nice little handout from Grace that you'll want to take with you, and give you an opportunity for you to claim some corporate matching gifts for yourself. All right. Hey, Mike. Hey, Joe. Thanks for being here. All right, let's get rolling. So the first thing we always do in these office hours webinars is talk about what's new and for a good cause. What have we been working on? So I'm gonna show you an updated peer-to-peer fundraisers report. I'm gonna show you an updated kind of invoice me email receipt that we have. And if you were here last time, yeah, you know that we voted on what For Good Cause should be working on next. And thanks to a little encouragement from Steve, Vanity URLs have won the day, and we have built that for you. So showing up to the office hours helps your cause, because we listen to what you're looking to build. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to kind of briefly go through this, and then we're going to hand it over to Grace to talk about the big thing today. So let me share my screen. All right, so let's look at, I'm sitting in the kind of a dummy account here at For Good Cause for the Bruce Wayne Bat Sanctuary. If you've seen a lot of stuff from us before, it's one of our favorite fake charities in all the world. So inside For Good Cause, let's talk about the updated peer-to-peer fundraising report. So in For Good Cause, once you log in as a nonprofit, you click on fundraisers on the left. Now, what we used to have here, when you clicked on this, we would have a separate report for the pages, the peer-to-peer fundraising pages, and then a separate report for the users, the fundraisers themselves, the people that are actually creating peer-to-peer fundraising pages for you. We've combined that into one. We were having an issue with, I want to be able to download all the information about the pages, but I also want to make sure that I've got the name and the email address of the person that created that page, have it all in one download. It's all been consolidated here. It's all very simple. So all the things that you could do here before, going out to view the peer-to-peer fundraising page, edit it, all that stuff is here, still here, but we also have the user, the name here, and their email address. This is all available in the CSV download that you could download. So if you want to pull information out about your peer-to-peer fundraisers, you'll have that, what campaign they're on, who they are, their goal against their progress against the goal, and the URL to their page. So just something that we've simplified for you based on feedback. Next thing that I want to show you is, let's go into campaigns. And actually first, let me talk about the Invoice Me receipt. So let me go over to my email. So we do have a payment method on your fundraising pages called Invoice Me. Now, what that's used for, it's where you might want a donor to submit their information electronically, but they're going to pay you offline. And so we've added, when they get a receipt for that, we've always in the transaction record, and this is just a sample kind of event page receipt. So I'm basically maybe ordering a sponsorship and doing a processing fee donation in addition to that that I ordered. We've always made sure that it said pay to, amount due, that they know that, hey, you have not actually paid for this yet, but what we have added is please remit payment to, and put your organization's address. And that pulls from the main kind of business information that's found here under the account tab, your name and address and all that, that's here. So this is something, just a little visual reminder to them that, hey, you've not actually submitted that donation or paid for that registration yet. You need to send that money in. You guys can still follow up with them in any way that you want to. This is just something we heard a little feedback that, hey, can we just emphasize a little more to the donor so that they visually see in the receipt that, hey, you didn't actually pay for this yet. We want this to go through. So some of our clients use Invoice Me for kind of as a backup to a credit card. Like they might take a pledge for a donation if the credit card fails. Most of the time our clients are using it for really big ticket events, maybe selling a $50,000 sponsorship. They want the sponsor to submit online with all their information electronically, but then they know they're going to cut them a check or have an in-person meeting to get that payment. So just a small little addition for you there. So jump back into the account, the dummy account here, to talk about the third thing. And this is something that's clients have been wanting for a very long time with us. And that's the ability to do kind of a vanity shorter URL with us. So I'm going to go into the main donation page here for the Bruce Wayne Bat Sanctuary. I'm going to click edit. And under campaign info, you'll now see a new section called campaign URL. And we're asking you something that's called a URL slug. So what this is, a slug is a portion of the URL that kind of comes between two slashes. And we're going to plug this in at the end of your URL. And this would be any type of keyword, maybe the name of your event, the name of your campaign. It should be something short, some type of keyword, something that would be recognizable for your organization in that URL. Cannot use spaces. You're not going to do uppercase. It's always going to make it lowercase, of course, as URLs are. No special characters except for hyphens. You must do something that is unique across the platform, because URLs have to be unique. So for this one, I just chose bats. You can use numbers as well. So any of your campaigns, you could come in here, come under campaign info, add the little URL slug and click update. And then any page that's on the campaign will include that slug. So I just made bats number 2. And so it's 4agc.com/donate/bats2. If I had an event page on this campaign, it would be 4agc.com/event and then your URL slug. If it was a landing page, it would be 4agc.com/landing slash whatever your slug is. We have created a new help article for this, which you should know you always can access under the help link at the top here. This will walk you through that and show you the URL for that. You still grab your URL the same way that you always have. So, in the list of your campaigns, click the page, copy the URL in the browser, and then take that to your website, emails you send out, social media postings, anywhere that you want to drive a donor into making a gift. You just link them to a page that you've had with us. So I should say that if you have not, if you're not using that particular feature, your old URLs will still work. The old URLs will not automatically redirect to a new, shorter URL. If you're using it, you would need to go in and change the hyperlink on your website or in an email or such. The donor is going to see the address that you link them to. So a way for you to do shorter Vanity URLs. So there you go. We'll have some time for questions at the end about things that are new and for a good cause, or what Grace is going to go over. So that's what's new and for a good cause. I'm gonna hand it over to Grace, and she's going to talk about introduce herself and double the donation, and talk about corporate matching gifts. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Ronald. And thanks for showing what's new. I love a good vanity URL, and our favorite mock nonprofit is the Cat Rescue Club. So I was brainstorming what our vanity URL would be. And I think it would probably be something like cats or kittens or something along those lines. So
I like it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having us, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Like Ronald mentioned, I'm excited to kind of talk about how corporate matching gifts can help you raise more, how you can better take advantage of these programs. So I'm Grace. I'm on the partnerships team over at Double the Donation. And so in my role, I'm lucky enough to work with partners like For a Good Cause here to enable matching gift solutions through our technical integrations and things like that with our 360 Match Pro platform. And so let me go ahead and pull up my slides here to get us started. And so like Ronald mentioned, we're going to be going through kind of how you can boost your online donations with corporate matching gifts, starting with a little bit of basic information to give you an idea of sort of what's out there, what the existing landscape is, and then we'll dig into a little bit more of how this works with the integration. So with that in mind, like I said, we'll start with a quick overview of corporate matching gift programs, companies that are using them, what that looks like. You may already be familiar in some capacity or potentially receiving a couple of matching gifts, kind of depending on what your donors might know, what they might be aware of. But we'll start with the basics and then go from there. Feel free to send any questions throughout that process as well. And then Ronald and I will actually show kind of what the integration looks like, the admin setup, what that process looks like for donors who are actually giving on your form, and then what you can expect to see within your 360 Match Pro dashboard with Double the Donation. And then, of course, as with any session like this, we'll have some time for questions at the end, whether they're about corporate matching gifts, Double the Donation, what Ronald showed you at the beginning. So we'll make sure we get some time for that at the end, but feel free to send questions in the chat throughout, and I'll keep an eye on that. So like I said, we're going to get started by kind of digging into the basics of corporate matching gift programs. And so starting very, very simple base level definition, what are matching gifts? And the reason that I do this is because there's a couple of different types of matching gifts. There's matching challenges. There's matching gifts where a donor is willing to match up to a certain amount within a certain window, things like that. But for today, we'll be talking about corporate matching gifts. And so corporate matching gifts are a type of corporate philanthropy in which companies financially match the charitable contributions of their employees. So in a literal sense if I work at the Home Depot and I make a donation to Cat Rescue Club or the Bruce Wayne Bat Sanctuary, depending on my favorite mock nonprofit of choice, let the Home Depot know they make
Grace, you're breaking up just a little bit on us. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. But she might have gotten kicked off, so hang on, guys. Can everybody still hear me? If you can hear me in the chat, let me know. Okay, good, good. Things happen, I tell you, they do. Okay, good. We're going to wait to say for her to come back on. I probably could talk about matching gifts, but we're going to give her just a second to jump back on here. We'll send her a quick little note that we lost her. Any questions about anything that I showed off earlier while we're waiting for Grace to jump back in? That's a good one, Mike. Yeah, Bill Gates didn't pay his electric bill, I guess. Karen, you are appreciated. We know a lot of clients have been looking for the Vanity URLs from us for a while, so we like it. It's just so simple. Makes it pretty good, easy to put something on the on your direct mail and all that kind of good stuff as well.
Hey,
All
Ronald,
right.
can you hear me?
Yes. Can everybody hear Grace again? Give her a big welcome back.
Sorry about that, everyone. If you'll believe it, my computer had one of those like multicolored screens of death where you see like all of the purples and the greens, and then it just kicked me right out. So hopefully I'll be safe here with you guys for the next couple of minutes while we jump in there. But I will attempt to pick back up where I left off, and hopefully we'll be able to make it through. But if you lose me again, we'll just keep trying.
Welcome back. You should be on your what are matching gifts. I think that's where we left off. So
awesome. Well, so what are matching gifts? Corporate matching gifts are a type of corporate philanthropy initiative in which companies financially match the charitable contributions of their employees. So if I give a gift, I let my company know, and then they make a gift on my behalf as well. So with that in mind, there's a couple of different parameters to be aware of, mainly because although these programs are relatively widespread, there isn't necessarily a universal matching gift program, or this is what makes a matching gift program. Instead, every company is able to actually go in and set the parameters per their company. And so it can look a little bit different depending on size, organization demographic, things like that. And so one of the first pieces that we always see, and what is most relevant for you as a nonprofit organization, is institution eligibility. And essentially what that means is not every organization is going to be eligible for every matching gift program set up by every company. But the good news is most 501c3 organizations are eligible for matching gifts across verticals, across industries. So whether you're education, health and human services, cultural and arts, most of these organizations are eligible for matching gifts. What we see tend to be less eligible is houses of worship or strictly political campaigns. But running the gambit, we see that most 501c3s are eligible for programs across most companies. Next thing you'll see on this list is match ratio. So match ratio essentially refers to the actual dollar amount that a company is going to match at. So we see 1-to-1 as the most common ratio. So if I give $100, my company gives $100, pretty base level there. But we also see programs that have a 2-to-1 match ratio, or potentially even 3-to-1, or sometimes we'll see like a 0.5-to-1. So they're giving half of that donation. I know Coke, so an Atlanta-based company, has a 2-to-1 match ratio for retirees, I believe. So if you retire at Coke, then they will match gifts for you throughout kind of the tenure of the rest of your charitable giving, and oftentimes at a 2-to-1 ratio. So something that can always be nice to look out for is those kind of special exceptions or nice opportunities with companies who are especially philanthropic. Employee eligibility is a lot like institution eligibility, and essentially it just means maybe not every employee is eligible for every facet of a matching gift program. However, we have found that employee eligibility has expanded in recent years. So it used to be just full-time employees that are eligible, but now, like I mentioned, we're seeing retirees eligible, we're seeing part-time employees eligible, and then we often sometimes see spouses of employees eligible. So if you give and you're not eligible through your company, maybe your spouse is. Always something to kind of check in on with that. Gift amount is really referring to a minimum or a maximum or a floor and a ceiling for giving. So in most cases, companies are going to have a minimum set around $20 to $25, meaning that a gift needs to meet that threshold in order to be matched by the company. We have some programs that we see their giving minimum be set at $1. So essentially any gift is match eligible. And then same thing goes for the maximum. We see the average coming in somewhere between $1,000 to $10,000. I know that's very variable, but there's a lot of different sized companies out there that are offering matching gift programs. And I think the largest maximum that I've seen is a $100,000 per employee giving maximum. So again, something to just keep an eye on, be aware of if you've got especially philanthropic donors. Maybe they're working for an expressly philanthropic company and you might want to look out for it.
We want to know who that is. We want to know what company that is. My goodness.
Yes, it's the Soros Group. So if you're familiar with George Soros, it's his company.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. And then last thing that you'll see here is program deadlines. This one tends to be a little bit more common. We see a lot more commonalities among companies with program deadlines. But essentially what this tells us is that there is going to be a time in which a gift is no longer eligible for a match. More often than not, this is timed around the calendar year. So for example, if you give a gift anywhere in the calendar year of 2024, then that company will match that gift up until December 31st. So not to get started too early, not to stress everyone out ahead of Giving Tuesday. But as you think about your end of year giving and you rear up for kind of that season and the potential influx of gifts you might see, it's definitely helpful to remember the program deadlines and say, hey, you gave in October, don't forget you can still receive that match. Hey, maybe you gave in March and we want to send some kind of reminder between now and the end of year, but we don't necessarily want it to be another ask. So maybe a matching gift reminder is a great way to do that based on their gift previous in the year. The other kind of common deadline that we see is around tax season. So we often see a lot of companies who have their deadline set in April of the following year. So again, just something to be mindful of, especially as the organization who would be receiving these funds. You want to be aware of who might be still eligible based on a gift that they have given previously. So with that in mind, you're probably wondering, okay, now I know what goes into a corporate matching gift program, but what does all of that mean for me? And am I actually eligible for these types of programs? So across Fortune 500 companies, we see that well over half are offering these types of programs. And because of that, we see roughly 2 to 3 billion donated through matching gift programs annually. And there's actually a ton more potential out there with roughly $5 to $7 billion that go unclaimed in these programs. And so when I say unclaimed, essentially what I mean is companies set their fiscal budget at the beginning of the year. They know exactly how much they want to spend on philanthropy. But if their employees don't use these programs, then that money goes unallocated, and that potentially can impact how they set their budget for the next year or how they look to employee engagement to kind of distribute those funds in the future. And so we see over 26 million individuals who are working for these companies in the US alone. So all of that to say, there's probably a good chance the donors you already have are working for these types of companies. And while there are a lot of household names, you'll also be surprised by how many companies that aren't household names that also offer these programs. So to give you an idea, like I said, we've got quite a few household names on this list because that's what's recognizable. But what I kind of want to get across with these logos that you see here is that matching gifts are not industry specific. They're not vertical specific. They're not limited to a certain type of company. You see things across food and beverage, retail, technology corporations, all across the board, insurance corporations that are having these types of programs for your employees. You see Soros Fund Management, they're the $100,000 maximum. But really, it just goes to show that one of the things we often run into at Double the Donation is the misconception that only openly philanthropic or expressly philanthropic companies have these types of programs. And so the Patagonias of the world are great. They have a very vested interest in being philanthropic and in making change in and around the community. But there's companies who aren't as open and forward about their philanthropic endeavors who have these offerings as well. And so just a reminder there that there's more than meets the eye, especially when it comes to matching gift programs, when there's so many individuals who are eligible. Now, with that in mind, you're probably thinking, okay, great, this is across all types of companies. There's a lot of different programs that do that. Now you're thinking, okay, then why is my nonprofit not receiving all of these matching gift funds? We're getting all of these donations already. Where are our matching gifts? Well, great question. And I'll break it down for you with explaining that the the matching gift process is essentially a 4-step process. Step number 1, you guys have that down pat. That's the getting the donation part. Step number 2 is where the donor submits their matching gift request to their employer. Then step number 3, the company approves that request per their company program guidelines. So like we mentioned, their minimum, their maximum, their employee eligibility, all those pieces. And then step number 4, the company issues payment to your organization. So it's in that step 2 where we see kind of matching gifts fall off the radar. Donors don't always know about these programs. They don't always know how to submit their matching gift request. They don't necessarily know what the process looks like. And oftentimes, even though matching gifts are becoming a more popular employee benefit, it's often something that's mentioned on page 32 of the employee handbook, and employees are worried about health insurance on page 4. So they're not making it to page 32. And so with that in mind, you really want to kind of cut through the red tape and bring matching gifts to donors wherever possible. And that is essentially where the Double the Donation and For a Good Cause integration comes into play, by being able to put matching gifts at the forefront of your donor's mind when they're in their giving mindset right after they've made a gift, so that they know how to submit the matching gift, what their next steps look like, and you can kind of introduce their eligibility as they give. And so with that in mind, we're now going to take a kind of quick look at the integration, and I'll hand it back over to you, Ronald, to kind of show us what this looks like within the For a Good Cause platform.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a lot of money that's just sitting there, not being claimed. I imagine also if it doesn't get claimed, then that hurts the brand of that company. They feel like, oh gosh, we didn't give away as much money as we should have. That makes us look less philanthropic. That goes to the shareholders. So this is good for the company. They want people to be asking for these donations. Absolutely.
Definitely, because matching gift programs, while they do benefit nonprofits and they do benefit the community, they are not an expressly like altruistic phenomenon.
Right.
There is still some benefit for the company. It's an employee retention strategy, it's a brand strategy, it's a marketing strategy. So you're exactly right. They want their employees to use these programs.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to share my screen. We're gonna go back into the dummy account here. I'm going to click on settings. I'm going to click on integrations, and you'll see right here on our integrations page we have double the donation. So really, Grace, they're gonna be basically get a key from you guys, and that's after they've signed up with you, and that's something that's present in their account, correct?
Yep. So you'll get a public API key that you'll be able to take into your fundraising platforms and put them in there to be able to initialize the connection. So once you sign up with Double the Donation, you've got your account, you'll go through onboarding with our team. And then within your settings, you'll be able to go in and pull this key to easily copy and paste it anywhere you need it.
That's right. And so with us, you just check the box, you paste it in, you click save key. Once you do that, then any donation page in for a good cause that you've built will enable this option on the donation form. So let's go back to our /bats2 that we worked on before. And so up here where you are configuring your gift, so you're saying how much you want to give, either monthly or one time. Maybe you're rounding up to help cover processing fees. Right here, it says, see if your employer will match your donation. If I check that, then it opens up a box that says, hey, employer donation matching is provided by Double the Donation. You may receive an email from Double the Donation with instructions on how to request a donation match from your employer. And it says here, search for company. So I have the ability to enter my company. Anybody want to put something in the chat? Tell me a company that's maybe near you, you want to be a little closer to. You want to get some matching gifts from. Anybody? If not, I'm gonna have to pick our normal. Home Depot is the go-to around here.
Home Depot's my go-to as well.
Okay, we've got a Samsonite. Oh, I wonder if that's their corporate name. Night? No. I bet they have a corporate name for themselves. I got lots of Sams here. I got Samsung. I got lots here. Well, let's go with Samsung. So all I have to do is enter that. Now, Grace, tell me kind of how does this list build and what happens? Maybe I don't see my company in there. I should still enter that, right?
Yes. So our database, we've got over 24,000 companies in the database, and we've got our database team working on it day in, day out, making updates based on information that we're hearing directly from the companies themselves. Sometimes we're hearing it from their corporate vendor. So in a lot of cases, companies have a platform that is managing their program for them, that's kind of facilitating that process. So we get that information from the vendor as well. Sometimes we're getting it from our nonprofit partners that are working with us, and they're saying, hey, we're really close with insert company here. They let us know that this is changing, or they've got a new contact information, something like that. And then, of course, always kind of pulling from publicly available sources as well. So we've got a number of places that go into updating the database so that we can hopefully have it as up to date and accurate as possible. And with this, you can type in a couple of different options. So for example, if you were to type in Samsung and you spelled it wrong, and all of a sudden you were typing in Samsung, or you typed in Home Depot with 2 E's, or all of those pieces, you'll be able to kind of keep an eye on what is eligible. It'll account for colloquialisms. So like I mentioned, we are close to Coke, but I would never say Coca-Cola. I would feel a little pretentious if I did. And so I would be calling it Coke. And if you type in Coke, that'll show up as well. And then something like ESPN, if you have that program is actually managed by the Walt Disney Corporation because Disney owns ESPN. So all of those pieces are kind of accounted for there. And then, of course, if you have something like Samsonite that isn't showing up in the database, you can also type in that plain text, and we'll be able to store that information and kind of allocate information to that donor accordingly, so that we know, hey, this isn't going to apply for this individual based on what we've got in the donation or in the database right now, but as we kind of update information in the future, you can do that. So there's a number of different companies that we've got in here. We can keep we could probably keep going through all 24,000. But Ronald, if you want to go ahead and finish the donation with whatever company you like.
Yeah, and we got a question about Regions Bank. Maybe we'll try that one more. We'll try one more. Yeah, Regions Bank. Why not? All right. So you type it in. You've got it set there. Then you go ahead and just finish the rest of the donation. I'm gonna just kind of move past all that and submit a gift. And I do, we can get matches on both one time and monthly, right?
Yes,
But,
monthly giving gets a little more complex with how a donor can choose to request their matching gift, because they can either request it on a per month basis if the monthly gift is above their minimum threshold, or what we've seen is also donors batch all of their monthly gifts at the end of the year. So that's especially helpful if you have a company whose minimum is a little bit higher and you have a donor who makes a $10 monthly gift, but the matching gift minimum is $25. Maybe at the end of the year, they're batching $120 through all of their gifts they've made, and now they're eligible and can get that match.
That's great. That's great. All right, we're gonna we're gonna do a one-time gift here. Now, so this goes through. We end up on the thank you screen here. And we put in regions on the previous page. So now on the thank you screen, we're going to get like an instant result of that from the Double the Donation database. So it's that, yes, Regions Banks has a matching gift program. Here are the minimum, maximums, the match ratio, all the things here, who's eligible, details on the types of organizations that are match eligible. Oh, and yeah, just mention this, Grace, that, you guys in the database, it's also information about volunteer grants and that kind of stuff as well, right?
Yep. So we've got volunteer information. So if they have volunteer grants, if they have volunteer time off, that's actually been an initiative we've recently been working on, because VTO has become a lot more popular, is going in and updating that information to be as up to date and applicable as possible.
That's awesome. And you see here, I can go, it's giving me an instant kind of next step. I can go to where I need to go to get the information about submitting my form. If I tab over to my email, oh, look at this. Not only did I get my receipt for the donation itself, but I also got a message, instantly to kind of take that same information and kind of push me forward. So it's giving me a step-by-step process here. Regions Bank, again, all the background, everything that I need to do. I kind of, when I talk about this, Grace, I talk about that it's basically holding the hand of the donor to keep them moving forward, to make this easy for them.
That's exactly right. And the good news about these emails is they are completely customizable in when you want to send them, and you can update that header image to be specific to your organization. You can actually even update this to come from your email domain. That's a question we get all the time is, hey, I don't necessarily want a donor to get an email from doubledonation.com because they're not familiar with doubledonation.com. That's totally fine. We get that. So you can have it come from your email domain so they can say, hey, yes, this is the organization that I just gave to. This makes sense to me, and I want to click into this and read my next steps.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing my side. And Grace, if you want to show, where does this data go? And then what action can the nonprofit take on to kind of, again, keep this as you step. You've got 4 steps here. You want to get to step 4.
Yes. So like I mentioned, Double Donation, you'll have an account with us. So you'll have access to your 360 Match Pro dashboard, which looks something like this. And so right now I'm in the donations tab. And so you'll see that Ronald's gift that he just gave is right there. $100, Regions Bank, and then there's a couple of other things that you can kind of keep track of that make it easier for you as the nonprofit to know where a donor's at in this process, what steps they might have taken, what they've clicked, because all of the kind of buttons, both on the thank you page and within the email, are being tracked. So if I actually refresh my page here really quickly, what you'll see is Ronald's gift shows that this email has been opened, and that we can see that no actions were taken in that email, but he got our email and it was opened. And then you'll also see kind of all of the other pieces that coincide with that. You can see who's managing the Regions Bank matching gift program, and you can also click into here to see all of that same information that the donor sees. So if you need to follow up on anything, you can. And then one kind of benefit that you have as well is administrative guidelines for you as the nonprofit organization. So you can see that they distribute matching gifts monthly. The deadline is the end of the year. The match is unrestricted so that they know it will go to any 501c3. They don't match to athletic programs, and alumni status is not required. So some higher ed institutions require you to be an alumni if you're giving and your company matches. That's not the case. So you can kind of keep track of all of this information to know exactly where a donor is. And you'll see this status shows match initiated, which means the donor actually clicked into those buttons and followed through on that. And you, like I mentioned, these emails are completely customizable there. There's some reporting, so you can keep an eye on where donors are at in the process, repeat donors, opportunities for leading companies. So, for example, Ronald mentioned they use the Home Depot a lot. That seems to be true. So you can see 15 donations where Home Depot was selected. And so that can be a great way to say, hey, maybe there's someone in our community that we should reach out to that we haven't before. And then last thing kind of in the dashboard is just some aggregate stats that you can keep an eye on. So we'll show you how many dollars have been identified as match eligible. We'll show you donor engagement. You'll see a couple of other of those company leaderboards and then match eligible donations leaderboards. So you can kind of keep an eye on what's out there and if there's anything that makes sense for your organization to kind of follow up on or pursue something greater there. So a lot of things that you can view within this dashboard. Like I mentioned, you'll have your API keys here. So if you wanted to come into that, all of that is kind of encompassed in here. So you can always have kind of a one-stop shop to be sure of where you're at in that process.
I love that sort of leading company idea because one of the things that we've seen with a few of our clients is once they identify that this is a company that, boy, there's a lot of activity going on over there with the employees giving, or maybe they're actually a corporate partner already. They're building co-branded donation pages with us that will have the nonprofit's logo and the company's logo. And then they are basically telling that company, hey, we want to run an employee giving campaign. So just share this page with the employees. And as they go through it, they're going to put in the matches are there available as part of that. And it just kind of brings it all together that then you're not getting random match from random employee at random company. You've identified, oh, we have a lot of people at Home Depot. I'm going to call over there. Hey, would you guys run an employee giving campaign? And then, boy, you are maximizing this beyond where you ever thought about. So
we've also seen in kind of a similar use case is, hey, would you want to run an employee giving campaign, or would you want to schedule a volunteer day with us? We've got X event coming up, or we've got X plan kind of cooking for the end of year. Do you want to get your company involved? Do you want to have a company team at our upcoming race event or something like that? So a lot that you can do with kind of the information beyond just getting those matching gifts.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, this tool is easy. It integrates really well with For Good Cause. It works really well when you are in that donation process, right? Like you say, top of mind. And then, Oh, sure. Let me just enter my company and start that process. So it's really, really easy. Anybody have any questions on this for myself or Grace? Don't be shy. Grace, you must have done a great job explaining it all. So let's I want to make sure that people have some things. First off is a handout. Oh, here's a question from Karen.
Good question, Karen. So, when you're thinking about money being dispersed, it's almost always automatically. It can kind of vary depending on how the company or their corporate vendor have their program set up. So, in a lot of cases, companies or vendors will have nonprofit profiles where they're pulling your mailing address from usually the IRS list of 501c3s, or you can claim your profile and make sure it's up to date. There's kind of two different options there. But yes, so they will have, not necessarily, usually you can go in and confirm your information is correct, but they'll pull from either your website or the IRS list of registered 501c3s to be able to have your nonprofit's donation or address information available. And so they'll either send you a check in the mail, or in some of those cases, if you've set up a profile or something like that and they have direct deposit, then you can see it directly into your organization's account. It can be a little variable from vendor to vendor, which can make it kind of hard and a little bit of a pain for you as the nonprofit to sift through and make sure I've got my name in all of the right places and things like that. So we always recommend kind of a beginning of the year or end of a year audit to see, hey, what vendors are we on? Who should we look into? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So that was a question, yeah, about how the money from the corporation is going to be deposited. Karen also has a question about setting up the account information. So yeah, they set up an account with Double the Donation and then integrate that back to For Good Cause. And to kind of help that process, I'm going to hand out a handout. So I'm going to launch a little handout here. So if you look on the right, you'll be able to download this. This is something from Grace. I think, Grace, this is something they can take to other people in their organization, their board, that kind of stuff, to kind of say, this is something I learned about. This is something that you can give them some talking points when they go back to talk about this at their nonprofit. And if you're interested, you kind of want to talk to the folks over at Double the Donation, sooner than that. Launch a little pop-up here. This will take you to a form that you can fill out, and then this will have somebody from the Double the Donation team to follow up with you, and it'll also let them know that you're working with For Good Cause. So
Yep. So I'll keep an eye on form entries there. So if you want to learn more and you fill that out, I'll keep an eye on that for the next day or two to make sure we get you squared away. We've got you connected with someone on the team and all of your questions can be answered.
Yeah. And Grace, you want to put your contact info in the chat there.
Yes.
Also, just if people want to follow up with something very directly from what we talked about. So and then if you do have questions, certainly happy to follow up with that on anything. Before we go, I want to just kind of talk about probably what we'll be talking about in the next office hours webinar. What are we working on here at For Good Cause? So currently, Steve and I are putting together, probably start testing this tomorrow. We've got some new alerts that will go to recurring monthly donors for expiring cards. So these would be something that we're going to be looking in our records to see, okay, does this donor have an expiring card coming up very soon? We want to send them an email to have them, alert them to go into their donor account and make that update. So that we already have payment failure alerts. We're going to be adding expiring card alerts. We also will be adding some additional dunning emails after the first payment failure. So we'll be adding some additional reminders. So a lot of more communication to monthly givers. And then starting next week, we will our next milestone, which I'm proud to say we are past the 50th milestone here at For a Good Cause. We bunch features together in milestones, and we're past 50 now. This is since 2017 when we kind of rebuilt the platform. It doesn't count all the little things that we do in between there, but we're past 50 now. So next week we're going to be working on another thing that was voted on last time, which is some additional statistics for our dashboard. So we'll be looking at things like giving you statistics on kind of lifetime revenue with us, subscriptions, kind of monthly recurring revenue, things that you're doing with your monthly giving. So a lot of new things that are coming from us. And as always, if you do have feedback and things that you want to tell us about, I'm always happy to hear that. Thank you for being here. Grace, thank you for being here. I certainly encourage any of our clients to take advantage of this integration. It's going to help you raise more money, without a doubt. Appreciate everybody that was here today. Appreciate what you're doing in your community. I will send the recording out, if not tomorrow, by Monday. If you happen to be watching the recording later on YouTube, please like and subscribe us. It does help us reach more nonprofits out there. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ronald, and thanks for bearing with my technical difficulties.
No, we were glad to have it. We got to say welcome twice to you.
Perfect.
So it worked out. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.
Bye.